And welcome back to Tahoe today, here in our satellite studio of the Boatworks Mall in Tahoe City. On my right, we've got some representatives from Sierra Nevada College, Erica Cole and Brian Turner. A very big pleasure to have you guys in the studio. Erica, we'll start with you. A lot of visitors maybe in town wondering about Sierra Nevada College. They've heard about it, or locals. So I'm surprised even sometimes I hear locals, they don't know where it's at. Where's that? Down in Reno? They don't know. It's tucked up in beautiful Incline Village. So give us the rundown of Sierra Nevada College.
We are in Incline Village. You can actually walk to the lake from our campus. We're Nevada's only four-year private college where you can get bachelor's degrees and master's degrees in 30 different disciplines.
And you brought in Brian because this program is amazing. Give us a rundown of what we've got going on.
Well, I'm going to let Brian do the rundown, but let me tell you a little bit about who you're sitting next to. I've got Brian Turner here. He's one of my literary heroes. It's so exciting. Just to give you an idea, the New York Times called his war memoir that was published recently excitingly intimate. So we're very lucky to have Brian as the director of our MFA program in creative writing, and he mentors our emerging writers on how to move people in their lives as well as he's done.
And you sent me the short bio, and we could spend all 4 minutes talking about just the bio, but what's the number one thing, Brian, that you sort of lay your hat on as maybe your biggest accomplishment coming in?
Oh, well, I mean, if we're going to be real about it, be getting married to Elise, my wife, and, you know, the real stuff. But in terms of writing, I'm with you. I think I always have it on the next piece that I'm working on. So nice. I'm always hoping that the next piece is the thing that will surprise me even more than the ones before. But looking back, right now I'm recording poems from my first book, Here Bullet, which are poems I wrote while I was an infantry sergeant in Iraq. And that's a 10-year anniversary of its publication, comes out this year. So there'll be an anniversary edition. So I'm kind of proud of the fact that the poems have been meaningful for people beyond myself. For a sustained period of time. And
the theme I'm getting when I come across a lot of description for you guys is authentic. How do you keep that authenticity throughout your teaching, throughout your writing?
You know, I try to, I can't say that for myself. I try to do my best. And one of the things I share with my students is a mantra that I keep for myself is Robert Frost. And he says it in a pretty incomprehensible essay, but there's a nugget in there where he says, no tears in the writer, no tears in the reader. No surprise in the writer, no surprise in the reader. And when I sit down to write something and I try to challenge myself in my imagination and the world that I live in to write something meaningful, if I'm not surprised, why should anybody else be? And if I don't care about it, it doesn't have to be tears. It could be joy or just curiosity. If I don't have those same feelings, why should anybody else?
Man, I'm getting some of it right now. The way you're speaking to the viewers and myself, I definitely want to dive into some of your writings here. We brought a few out on the table. Talk about Sure. these and then how they tie into Sierra Nevada College and the entire curriculum.
Well, in broad strokes, I'm a poet originally. I studied at the University of Oregon. Then I went into the military for 7 years. I've written 2 books. One book of poetry, as I mentioned, I wrote while I was in Iraq as an infantry sergeant. The second book in 2010 came out. That's more of the soldier coming home, also poetry. My last book is a memoir that really goes into the layers of history within my own family, the antecedents that might make me as a person, as many people have done in America, raise my hand and say an oath or carry a weapon into combat. How that translates maybe into teaching practice and writing is that I think as much as you might try to cross a line into dangerous territory in the physical world, I think as writers we have to try to challenge ourselves to cross the lines of the imagination and challenge the world we live in and ourselves so that we can find the meaning that oftentimes sort of eludes us and is elusive in our everyday lives.
I feel like we could sit here and talk for hours.
I'm a rambler. I used to be a sergeant. That's the tools of the trade. You know?
Talk a bit about the program at Sierra Nevada College specifically.
Absolutely. It's a 2-year program. It's a low residency, which means that one of our students lives in Berlin, for example. So she comes for 2 years. She'll visit us 10 days at a time. January and August, we have our residencies. It's sort of like my hand. So they'll do a 2-year program. There'll be 5 residencies, and in between are 4 semesters. She'll go back to Berlin. She'll have a teacher who's in New York or here in Tahoe, and they'll correspond and work on their work over those 2 years to get a manuscript that's of publishable quality. The one thing that makes us is different than any other program in the entire country, and this isn't hyperbole, it's not a big fish out of the lake, is that the last semester they work with an editor in the field. So someone like Steve Woodward, who works at Grey Wolf Press, a fine press in America, he can be their teacher for the last semester, for example.
Wow.
So it's a phenomenal program, and I'm grateful to be a part of the community.
Brian, Erica, thank you very much. I've been fascinated by the folks you bring in here, some true all-stars that represent Sierra Nevada College. You can find out more at sierranevada.edu/community. That's a wrap here from our satellite studio here in Boatworks Mall today. Sending it back to you guys in South Lake Tahoe.